This week's Retail Week is brought to you by Avail, Phosphorus Fertilizer Enhancer. Never stop pushing. Hello again, welcome to another edition of Crop Life Retail Week. This week I'm joined by Matthew Grassi, our technology specialist on Crop Life and Precision Ag professional, doing a lot of traveling in support of what we've been doing and a lot more to come, which we'll talk about. But recently you were in Illinois, and a story that actually broke on the website yesterday, talking about some data compatibility things that Ag Gateway was working on. But you can talk a little bit about your experience and how it went down in Illinois.
Yeah, Paul. So we've been kind of following this whole grain traceability deal, food traceability from the whole field to fork stuff, and making sure we know where everything's been. But anyway, Jeremy Wilson, he's doing the proof of concept there in central Illinois, Olney, with his dad on some harvesting equipment that they use in harvesting grain, and he had us out a couple weeks ago to see the proof of concept in action, and very cool. Huge potential on tracking these grain unloading events, which is kind of the gist of it. But there's also some data fusion stuff, some interesting way that they're using the data to kind of drive efficiencies, both in the harvest process as well as when you get down to the grain elevator to drop off your load of grain. So very neat stuff, and we're hoping that they see it through there at Gateway and Jeremy. But very, very cool scoop that we got, that you got actually.
Well, we got a first look at it, and it looks like it's, especially for grain traceability, really from the field to the grain bin and all the way through the channel is going to be a possibility. So we're excited about that and hope to see that come to fruition and get adopted. So again, more on that later, and please visit precisionag.com for the full story on that. And then, of course, tomorrow you leave for Germany.
Yes.
First international trip on behalf of Meister to see Agritechnica, which is an enormous trade show for equipment and for technology in agriculture, and I think there's something like 18 buildings, many of them the size of football fields alone, which is fairly intimidating. But I know you got a couple of aces in a hole. AJ Sharda from Kansas State University is gonna help show you around. Thank you, AJ, for your help. And then Mike Gomes at TopCon is also volunteered to help. If anyone else is going to be there, you can drop us a note.
We are open.
We're certainly open to meeting with folks there, maybe doing additional tours. AGCO reached out and invited us to see their booth as well. So then of course there was an announcement from Bayer this morning. We'll talk about in a little bit that we're also going to be doing. But anything else? Just walking around and seeing this tremendous show. I think pretty much.
Yeah, I think I know there's going to be some cool stuff on harvest technologies, planter technologies. I'm sure Deere and all the big guys will be there in full force with their stuff. And I've heard some of this stuff that you see at Agritechnica might make it to market, and then some of it's so out there that you might not see it in 10 or 20 years. But we'll be looking at it all, and anyone who's open to talk to us, we'd love to see you.
Sounds good, and we'll be back with a couple more news bits after the break.
We want our farmers to be successful, and if they're spending money to put on phosphate in particular, we like to put Avail with it so that a lot more of that gets into the plant. We know that a majority of it gets tied up in the soil before a plant has a chance to work with it. So we like to put Avail to increase that availability to the crop.
Welcome back. We'll hit a couple of interesting news tidbits. again, related more to technology. Bayer announced that there's something called Zervio, which is a it's got an X and an E in there. It's a bit of a tongue twister, but essentially it's their digital farming product, and it sounds like it's going to be about, again, trying to find ways to help people or help farmers to better utilize crop protection products from Bayer. So it's more of an internal look in terms of folks using the products and using technology to help them improve the way they use Bayer products.
Yeah, I think really cool the part about growers being able to use their smartphone to take pictures of in-field problems and then they throw that over an algorithm, I guess, and come back with a recommendation straight to the phone. So, I mean, that's super powerful.
Right.
I would think.
Yeah, they talked about how much data they've collected, and I'm sure that's putting that data to work and figuring out how to help farmers. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Of course, the Yara Adapt-N deal, the Yara purchasing Adapt-N. I think what's particularly interesting on that is I talked to Steve Sabulkin, who is kind of the Adapt-N, the guy who's kind of driven the commercialization part of this thing, and they started that technology in 2003. It took 10 years to get to a point of commercialization, and another 4 years before it became something that it was a saleable commodity for a larger company to purchase. So this gives you a sense of how really difficult it is to get a product like that with so many algorithms, so much work underneath it to market to actually work. And then to get it to something that it makes people confident enough to think it'll have a future and that they can purchase it and move forward with it. So, yeah, long road.
That was I was a high school senior at Riverside High School down the street in 2003. So, wow.
Yeah, that's quite a bit of time.
Congrats to Steve and everyone over there. Wow, that's
absolutely
quite a accomplishment.
It really is. And then finally, ARA, the Ag Retailers Association conference is coming up. I know you're heading there, and
excited for that too. We'll have the FBN will be taking the stage. Everyone's pumped for that.
I just heard from I got a lengthy email from Steve Watts talking to me about. I mean, we did a story on rebates and some other things, and I haven't had a chance to digest everything he sent me, but very interesting perspectives, and he's really looking forward to getting on a stage with the FBN folks and having an interesting discussion. So that should be a great day.
There's that, and not to pitch for ARA or anything, but the pre-show they're doing a pretty cool thing on dicamba, a workshop with some of the extension scientists that have been doing a lot of research on that system. So excited for that. It looks like a pretty good agenda from ARA, so we'll be there as well.
Sounds good. All right. Well, thanks for joining me this week,
Paul.
man.
Appreciate it.
That's it for this edition of Crop Life Retail Week, and we'll see you next week. Thank you to this week's video sponsor, Avail Phosphorus Fertilizer Enhancer from Verdesian Life Sciences.